What's going on, everybody? I'm Tatiana and welcome back to my YouTube channel, where today we are talking about a huge topic that is really widely questioned. There's so much confusion because there's so much information regarding this topic. And today, since we're on my channel, we are going to discuss the way that I would recommend getting started. And what that is getting started with a nutrition program or following a certain diet if you are new and you have been out of that game and out of that realm for a while, but your goal is to lose weight. So notice that I said lose weight because this is where it's gonna be different from person to person. So essentially, ever since there ever was, since the beginning of time, there has been so many different recommendations with dieting and diet culture and the way that you're gonna reach your dream body and the way that you're gonna get to look like these other people and the way that everything. And the reason is because the fitness industry is a huge money-making industry, right? So if you keep getting new different diets and you keep promising somebody that they're gonna have success with your diet and they've tried every single one, look how much money is going into that by switching it around, by giving you different information, by promising buy-all, end-all pill or whatever, shake, something that you need that's gonna get you where you've never been before. And at the end of the day, a lot of these can get you there because there's so many different ways to get to the same destination. However, you need to find the one that's best for you, and you need to find the one that you can stay consistent with, because consistency is gonna be your best friend. That is gonna be tip number one. Stay consistent, you gotta do it. Results don't happen overnight. Unfortunately, some brands are gonna promise you that, and also unfortunately, you might be watching your Fitspo and you didn't see all the work that she or he put in to get there. It might have been years and you're just starting your journey. So don't compare your day one to somebody else's day 10, tip number two. So in that case, what should you do? I mean, there's keto, there is macro counting, there's the Atkins diet, there's paleo, there's Whole30, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, there's so many things. So like I said, my recommendation would be to choose the one that you can stick to best. When it comes to my clients, what I recommend starting with initially is macro counting, okay? And macro counting, if you don't know what macronutrients are, they're proteins, carbs, and fats. So you're essentially tracking those things and trying to get really close within like 5 to 10 grams of whatever your macro goal is for each macronutrient per day. And in the same way, they'll equal to around what the calories are supposed to be that you should also be eating. So if your goal is weight loss, in order to lose weight, you have to be in a calorie deficit. What a calorie deficit is you're expending more calories a day than you're taking in, okay? So say per day, I'm expending 3,000 calories, I'm only eating 2,600 calories, that would mean I'm in a 400 calorie deficit. So that's how you're going to get into weight loss, is by not having those numbers equal. Weight gain is gonna be the exact opposite of that. I'm expending 3,000 calories a day, I'm eating 3,500 calories a day, I'm at a plus 500 surplus, that's gonna make my weight go up. If you are hitting exactly what's going in and what's going out, then you are in a maintenance phase and your weight is gonna stay the same. You're not gonna see many changes unless you are doing something really specific in the gym that's helping you get there. So, right off the bat, the facts that I just said, the only way that you're losing weight is by being in a calorie deficit, tells you that if you want to, you can be a vegan and lose weight because you can be in a calorie deficit. You could be on keto and lose weight because you could be in a calorie deficit. You could stop eating all the food in the world and you're clearly in a calorie deficit and you're definitely gonna lose weight. Obviously, that's the worst way to do it, but I'm just saying that is the key, is the calorie deficit. So why is macro counting so helpful in that case? Because if you're tracking your food, that's the only for sure way to know that you're in a calorie deficit, is to measure everything that you put in your mouth.
Everything that you put in your mouth.
Weigh it, measure it, put it in things, track it, put it in your tracking app. You need to track your food because that is the only way you'll know. There's a statistic that says if you ask somebody to guess how many calories they eat a day, the average person guesses 700 calories lower than what they're actually eating. So I like my clients to track for that reason. You're gonna know every single thing that you're hitting. You're gonna know maybe you're doing really well with your fat intake. It's not too high, it's not too low, but you're incredibly overeating carbs, which are the #1 abused food is carbs. You're overeating carbs by a lot, you're under-eating protein by a lot. And actually with every female that I've worked with, that seems to be the case. It's really hard for people to get as much protein as they're supposed to get if they're not tracking it, because it's actually more than what you think you should be eating. So most people are under-eating protein, most people are overeating carbs, a lot of people are overeating fat, and then at the end of the day, they're overeating calories and they're being underactive. So using that tracking app, which I use MyFitnessPal with my clients, but I know there's a lot of other ones that people use that seem to work pretty well, like MyPlate or Noom. There's a couple different ones, but for 1 to 2 months, I recommend doing that. The second reason why macro counting is really helpful is because you learn what a portion size actually looks like. Like I said, carbs are the #1 abused substance in the world. Anything that's a carb is a sugar. That's why if you see something like a yerba mate, like a drink, you look and you see there's carbs in it and you're like, what? This isn't bread, this isn't pasta. Why? Because there's sugar in it. Sugar is carbs. So you're gonna start to see what your portion size should look like, because if you're somebody who doesn't cook at home a lot, which the majority of Americans don't, you're used to eating out. And when you're eating out, the portion size that they're giving you is this big, and in real life, it should be about this big. So you learn, you know that you're in your calorie deficit when you're tracking macros. You also learn what a portion size should look like because you're measuring. You also learn what foods have what in them. Something that a lot of people don't realize, which is another huge tip, is to watch what sauces and condiments you're using. Cream, salad dressings, and pasta sauce have so much fat in them. Not saying they're bad, maybe you're on keto. I'm just saying a lot of times you're under aware how much they have in them. So instead of doing a 2 tablespoon serving size, you end up doing like a 4 tablespoon serving size, and then you take it from 14 grams of fat to 28 grams of fat because you're not measuring it and you're not aware what the actual serving size on the back of the nutrition label is. So the third reason I like macro tracking is because you learn what's in a food and what sources of foods have settle each macro well. And also you start to read nutrition labels, which is really, really important. And to all the moms or parents out there, I definitely recommend getting familiar with that so that you can show your children how to do that too, because I hear that in school they're not teaching nutrition anymore, which is kind of sad. Okay, so the last reason that I really like macro tracking in the beginning is because you learn what a basic day of food should look like for you. So that means that when you stop tracking, you know kind of what a serving size should look like, and you know when you've been tracking. Say when you've been tracking, you've been eating egg whites, turkey, and berries for breakfast, you've been eating marinara ground turkey pasta for lunch, you've been eating a chicken salad for dinner, and you've been having a banana before your workout and a protein shake after your workout. Say that's your meal. If you keep tracking that a couple times, if you are really busy one day and you're not tracking, you don't need to, because you have a well-informed decision within you. So you can say to yourself, okay, I'm not measuring anything, I'm not tracking anything, but I remember my protein should be about the size of my fist, my carbs should be about the size of my palm, my vegetables should be the size of my hand, and I don't need to measure it because I know I should be hitting these 3 square meals a day and they should have this in it. So I told you that I think that macro tracking is the best way initially, but then once you're doing that, what do I recommend doing from there? In my opinion, macro tracking is very efficient and it's gonna get you the results that you want. However, it's tedious and it's annoying and it's not realistic to do for months on end, especially if you are busy, if you are a mom, if you work a 9 to 5 and you're just not finding the time. So after 1 to 2 months, I recommend transitioning into intuitive eating. And what intuitive eating is basically listening to your body and giving it what it needs. So what's so great about intuitive eating is you're no longer in that diet culture mentality. You don't feel anymore like you need to restrict yourself, and you're educated from tracking the macros and getting yourself out of eating incessant amounts of sugar and fat and all of that. So you start to learn how your body feels. In terms of intuitive eating, a lot of times it's a really good idea to have a food journal as well and kind of write down what you ate and then how you felt. So So maybe you were eating really healthy, but you felt really, really heavy and it's not good. You can go back to that day before and see, okay, I felt like this 3 different days now, and on all 3 of those days, I was eating a Caesar salad or something, and then you realize that your body is really sensitive to Caesar dressing or dairy. Then you can start taking that out of your diet. So that's something really nice. You also can see when you felt really good and you realize that you've had such high energy every day and you're wondering why, and you can look back and see, oh, like every single day I stopped eating at 6 o'clock, or I started eating a certain type of fruit in the morning, and that's how I started my day, or I had a shake right when I finished working out. You can start to see those trends that are making you feel good. You can start to see the trends that are making you feel not good. Another thing when you're doing intuitive eating that you want to think about is eating slowly and controlled, and really taking that appreciation for the puzzle and the sequence that is taking that food, making it, cooking it, putting some love into it, having it on your plate, and taking it from your plate into your mouth, and then recognizing what it's doing for your body, because it's literally fueling you, it's getting you through the day. So taking your time to sit down with your dinner and appreciate it and chew slowly and not just shove it in your mouth is gonna make such a big difference when it comes to intuitive eating. Eat the food and see how it makes you feel when it hits your stomach. Remember, your stomach is made out of stretch mechanoreceptors, which means when you put something in it, the muscle of your stomach, like the outsides of your stomach, are gonna stretch. So you're not gonna feel how full you feel immediately. You're gonna feel it a little bit later once you start stretching. And that's another thing, actually, this is a side note, but for weight loss, another thing that's really smart because of those stretch mechanoreceptors is to drink a glass of water before every meal if you're somebody who's trying to lose weight. Because 1, you're gonna get to get hydrated, but 2, you're also going to be putting something in your stomach that's gonna start making it expand, making you feel more full, and your stomach doesn't know if that was food or water or what. And obviously water is 0 calories, it's really good for you, so it can help make you a little bit more full before your meal, making it less likely that you'll overeat. You can also do that with vegetables, is eat your vegetables before, so you have a little bit more volume over there, making you less likely to overeat the unhealthy things. So when you're in that intuitive eating state as well, I feel like that's just a really good time if you have been restricting yourself or being in diet culture to get yourself out of that by 1, learning what your body does and doesn't like, 2, focusing on your portion sizes, 3, eating slowly, and 4, just listening to your body. You really just wanna listen to, are you overeating? And if you are really overeating, you recognize the point that you're full and you're still overeating, that's when you wanna think back and maybe go to your food journal and think about how you were feeling when you were doing that. Were you lonely? Were you by yourself? If you were, the chances are it's something to do with that mental state than if you were with a group of people, if that makes sense. So basically, that would be how I would recommend getting started with your weight loss plan, is to start by tracking, learn about foods, learn what's in each one of them, and then start to transition out of that and really do it with respect for your body and listening to your body. That's gonna be the key. Please let me know what questions you guys have. I know this went over a lot of stuff, and this is an easy video to segue into some videos to talk more about some of the stuff we went over in here, like what kind of things, if you are in that mental state where you're constantly binge eating, you can think about and do to help you retrain your brain to kind of back off of that, or other little hacks like drinking a glass of water before dinner and vegetables before dinner, small things like that, or showing you what a serving size should look like versus what a restaurant one looks like. If any of those things sound interesting to you guys, drop a comment and let me know. Have a great day, guys.